An emergent theme of Arcane Season 2 is the toll war leaves on its participants. Vi's hair stays permanently stained, Caitlyn's lip gets scarred, Jinx loses a finger, Savika gets a terrible barber, and Jace gets his gemstone infused in his wrist. As Vander taught us, there are no winners in war. Everyone's going to face hardship, whether that be both mental and physical. And subsequently, war stains those complicit and permanently changes them forever, symbolized by each character's physical change. We need to start with the first war in the universe. This actually comes from the perspective of Heimerdinger, witnessing the rune wars that imprinted the calamity and chaotic nature of magic and mages into his psyche. Heimerdinger doesn't get physically injured, but the mental trauma he gleaned defined his core values when founding Piltover and pushing for constant safeguards. I talked about Heimerdinger a lot, so I think we already know how his paranoia shapes the story and him. Now we start with the first Piltover Civil War. I've heard that because Vander doesn't have a beard when choking Silco, that incident happened before the battle, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm saying that both of these events happened concurrently. As a result of battle, Silco got his eye and face infected while Vander gets his wrist cut. Now both characters are shaped by that conflict in very different ways. Vander becomes steadfast against any sort of conflict, and each time he scorns the thought of war, he reaches for his injured wrist. Now, the failed rebellion motivated Silco gave him more of a reason to push for Zonite independence, hence how his eye symbolizing his vision helped define his position within Zon after his takeover. Finn commented about how Silco had the whole package of being a leader, which included his eye. Both Vander and Silco had wildly different takeaways from the first Zonite rebellion. And the war's physical imprints on them show us that though war hurts everyone involved, Vander aches at past scars while Silco had them define him. Now, a minor battle occurs during Silco's takeover within Zon, and again we see its participants permanently change. Vi gets a metal slab knocked onto her and permanently injures her shoulder. Savika gets her arm blasted off. Powder gets scarred for life, and Vander gives into his inner monster about to be warped forever. Ironically, Silco is left unscathed, because in all sense he was the only person who gained from war. Now he has power, influence, and the choice to shove Zon into war at a drop of a dime. But the thing is that conflict never developed Silco at all, hence why the war does not leave any marks on him. Winners in war don't face any injuries, just trophies. This case coming in the form of Jinx. As for Jinx, much like Silco, her monkey bomb explosion in the brink of war also inspired her, helped define her vision. But in the aftermath of conflict, her interactions with Vi leave a permanent gash in her mind, tearing into powder. During episode 3, the first signs of Jinx, the one finding inspiration in the heat of battle, gets awakened while the soul of Powder gets slowly stomped out. This impact on Powder on Jinx remains constant, as with each fight the capable Jinx only strengthens while the emotional Powder gets snuffed out. As for Vi, her shoulder gets injured. In every fight since pre-timeskip, she stretches her shoulder before every encounter. Representative of how Vi shouldn't return to fighting, her shoulder represents Vi's supposed takeaways after the incident. You don't need to fight, you don't have to fight. Instead, take care and love those around you. When Vi hits Powder, she makes the worst mistake of her life, and those memories haunt her mentally and physically every time she's about to step into the fray. In this essence, Season 2 showcases her betraying herself and her lessons by participating and perpetuating battle, but I'll touch on that in a bit. Savika had her arm blown off from the explosion, but functionally her shimmer arm was an overall improvement to her capability. Though scarred from battle, Savika was also a victor as Silco's takeover defined her strength and grew her responsibility and impact within the Undercity when supporting the path of Zonite independence. Last is Vander, who betrayed his passivism and takes Shimmer. Shimmer represents the utilization of inner strength, but letting that willpower and monstrous capability define you. I always knew you had it in you, Silco notices as Vander in a rage is quite literally unstoppable. And so in protecting his children, he embraces becoming a monster and abandons his past ideals. Now that decision will come to haunt him, as most likely Vander turns into Warwick and completely morphs into an actual demon, subject to his own feral whims and reckless strength. In this case, Vander's takeaways from losing himself in the heat of conflict is quite literally losing himself and his morality to become the ultimate killer. Vander, without a family, position, and sense of self, is just left with his innate destructive capability, something he gave up his humanity for and will define his journey in Season 2. Now there's a last bit of scars talked about before Season 2 war, that being the warfare experienced by Melon and Bessa. For Mbessa, battle quite literally defines her character design, covered in markings from head to toe. And that is where she draws her strength, through experience and ruthlessness. Though her heart gets healed with Mel's presence, losing her daughter will drive her into charging Piltover headfirst into war to return to everything she knows. We know Mel gets mentally scarred from the aftermath of battle, similar to the Vander realization that no one wins, hence her embracing of Piltover's progressivism and wanting to give Zahn peace. Mel learned about the true cost of war and how good policy is paramount to ensure the last resort stays last. But peace is the inevitable equilibrium, hence why I don't think they will kill her off. But now let's talk about the true impact of war. So far, how characters get injured define their ultimate resolutions in regard to battle. Hidden scars represent hidden scars, while distinct ones show us how war defined that individual. Already in Season 2, we see major character design changes. Vi turns emo, Caitlyn's lip, Jinx's fingers. I've mentioned those at the start. For Vi, the detail is amazing. Scarred mentally, her inner darkness grows as she betrays herself and her people. Dark Vi is hiding away her entire individuality because everything that made her Vi is now a casualty in combat. Left rotting in the fight club, Vi can no longer protect, no longer peacekeep, no longer love. At first, this identity emboldens her, as she can just collect money and dubs to pay for life and drinks, completely ignoring the current state predicament. But noticing the Kiramin Medarda war banners remind her about whatever mental grievances she's experienced, and that just reminds Vi that this is not what she wants to be. And so Vi falters day after day. The fact that Vi has to reapply grease means that she is forcing these changes onto herself. But towards the end, which I assume is Act 3, some time passes and grows an amazing mullet with black at the roots. Design-wise, it's telling us that Vi has grown. Her hair a direct parallel of that. But there is some darkness left in her hair. The mental scars from war are still there, but they don't define her identity. Vi still has the bright red resolve coming into Season 2, but now she's a more nuanced version of herself. After conquering her inner demons in conflict, Vi lets the emboldening and discouraging parts of war shape her to become a much more complete, complex individual, accepting the messy state of the world. Now seared in red and black, Vi has realized her multifaceted loyalties and responsibilities to be individually defined enough to clash with the awakened Jinx. Now Jinx is shown in Act 3 with her braids cut, face painted, and donning a beautiful toothed hood that I want so bad. Arcane, please release it as merch. Jinx losing her middle finger is significant, showcasing how her pulling the trigger of war is ultimately not what she wants. Just like how Savika sacrificed herself to truly become the right arm of Zahn, Jinx loses her middle finger despite her goals of flipping off Piltover. Notice, Savika is defined completely by her right arm, the only arm left. But if Jinx were to become the ultimate enemy of Piltover, that would mean Jinx would only have her middle fingers left. This is telling, as by becoming the face of revolution and rebellion, Jinx loses a human part of herself, of compassion and love, and rebuilds it harboring hatred and resentment towards Topside and her sister. Jinx's painted nails are painted alternating pink representing Jinx and blue representing Powder. Funny how the middle finger's smiley face is Jinx pink, ruining the pattern. By embracing warfare, Jinx is trying to squash the Powder within her and build up a prosthetic identity of Jinx. She accepted that half of her at the end of Season 1, but leading into Season 2, that part of her will be unnaturally forced into fruition. Now donning the hood, Jinx looks awfully like her rocket launcher. Notice that Fishbones was Silco's image of letting the inner monster out, an idea encapsulated in Jinx's first attack of Piltover. But instead of using the monster, Jinx has embraced it, hence the jaws looming over her head. You know what the hood is quite literally covering though? Jinx's cut pigtails. Obviously a feature of the Demolition Diva, her pigtails being cut into new short hair is extremely reminiscent of the old Powder look. And again, she covers that side of her up to don the identity that Zahn is holding out hope for, to take charge in the final hour, to embrace her final role. Jinx is going to be the final villain, but her design signals the intentional squashing of Powder to be who she thinks she wants to be, playing the part of the ultimate symbol of change. Jinx is not far too gone, as the subtle hints of Powder are ingrained into her very design, underneath all that pizzazz. I wonder what that says about the conclusion of that story. With Caitlyn's new design, she has a scar on her lip. We see her design pre and post scars in different clips, alongside a glimpse of when that injury actually happened. The lighting looks exactly like Jinx vs Vi, so this is probably the end of Act 1 fight where Vi and Caitlyn fight Jinx and Savika. Well, we all know what lips are for, and Caitlyn is definitely the top in the relationship. Caitlyn hurting her lip in the battle between Vi and Jinx is also directly telling us how her hunt for the blue savior of Zahn will get between her relationship with Vi, but that's something we've been guessing for a while now. But lips can also symbolize other kinds of love, compassion, and speech. Caitlyn tarnishing all those aspects of herself in her mad hunt represents how her participation is ruining what made her the hope of Piltover's new justice. But like Vi's hair change, this period is something that Caitlyn will permanently live with, an experience that she will grow past but still be reminded of to determine her actions and words going into the future. Jace's wrist with his magic gem is going to become corrupted. For far too long, this big idiot has been so lucky in life and not even encountering hardships for more than 12 hours. Luckily, he is going to be growing up a lot next season like the big baby he is. I'm going to assume that the wrist we see right here is Jace, but if it turns out to be Victor, then I'm gonna fart on my mic during stream. Jace used to keep his magic gemstone contained, managed, and in a nice aesthetic wristband, but now it has been permanently seared into his body, unremovable and scarring. A lot of magic shenanigans will take place next season, most likely with Victor, which will completely shift Jace's ideals towards the Arcane. Walking along the path of Heimerdinger, I wouldn't be surprised if Jace gets some trauma from Hextech that shifts his viewpoint on policy and science. But magic will always be a part of Jace's identity, much like the gemstone will ingrain itself on Jace. And so Jace will tread along the line of restrained progress, pushing him to stop Victor's reckless experiments despite the progress he may achieve, exactly what drove Heimerdinger and Singed apart. This could also hint at how Jace's involvement in Hextech weapon development will leave its scars on Jace and warp his sentiments. And so the Hextech gemstone merged into his wrist will again remind him about the true dangers of magic and militarism and set up his standoff with Mbessa. Next we have Savika, who got done really dirty by her barber. I do agree with the idea that tidy hair means control while messy and loose hair represents chaos. Take Soko, who always looks nice until things don't go so well. But I'm more likely to say that both are confounders. Basically, when disasters happen, it results in both chaotic situations and messy hair. But the correlation is notable. Savika always tries to keep order in the other city's operations, and her neat ponytail getting trimmed is her letting go of her uptightness and embracing the wild energy of Jinx and war. My guesses are that during war, Savika will also change to be more accepting of changes and go with the flow of battle, just like Jinx. This also explains her new arm, which is a straight up chomper arm which looks amazing. Like a wild animal as a limb, Savika is going to let loose and just cause carnage. For Piltover. After all, you can't be prepared for everything during war. In nurturing Jinx to be responsible for the Undercity's ideals, part of the Pink Princess will rub off on her, making Savika more chaotic and feral, but she will become stronger through war. Lastly, we see a minor change with Echo having Jinx's war paint all over himself. Just like how Jinx painted herself to define Jinx, I think Echo's design change will encapsulate Jinx's growing influence on him as they ally together to fight for the Undercity. Now, they definitely won't be lovers or have anything romantic, but Echo will ultimately turn against her in the last moment as Jinx becomes way too unhinged in becoming the main villain. Just like with everyone else I've discussed, his experience with Jinx will still leave its imprints, just like how he is carrying her sigils, and out of love and compassion he will work with Vi to try to stop her final attack. There are many other main characters who haven't revealed their design changes, Mbessa, Heimerdinger, and Singed. For each character I've talked about so far, I think that they are most likely going to survive war. We've seen how war shaped and defined them, and none of their physical takeaways from conflict have been aligned with killing them off. Through their character changes, we know how their stories will unfold through battle. But for Mbessa, Heimerdinger, and Singed, their fates are up in the air. War will affect them in some way as they are all complicit. Remember, no winners. As the most likely biggest loser in war as she gets booted out of Piltover, Mbessa is gonna take some major damage. As a guess, I'm gonna say she gets a big ol' scar right across her face to showcase her ultimate defeat at the end of the story, and defining herself with that loss. It would also make sense how she always keeps her mask on within League of Legends to hide that part of her away. Next, I have no clue what's gonna happen to Singed, and his involvement in war might not even be that involved. Now, Heimerdinger is not looking so good. Never in the series have we seen Heimerdinger been physically injured while every other main character has been damaged in some way. Again, I think the writers are saving his injury to when he gets blown up and dies, and that's how war will affect him. Victor is going to completely change next season, and I talked about that before. In Arcane, character design changes have always told us something about how those individuals change with their experiences. Through analyzing their new looks off the onset of war, the trailers already tell us a lot about how each character will be shaped by the ongoing conflict. Thank you guys for watching. What do you guys think the new designs mean for everyone we've seen so far? No one say time travel, okay? I want to hear that. I want to hear that. Anything else but time travel. I have another season 2 analysis. It's crazy. There's so much information we've gotten from season 2, and there's a lot of emerging themes that I want to talk about. So let's see if the content's gonna be good, huh? Well, anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. How about that? Bye. Bye.